This is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I am going to show you how to crochet my new scarf crochet pattern release called the Bobbles and Crosses scarf. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath the video. My new Bobbles and Crosses scarf measures approximately 118 inches long and about 9 inches wide. And you can make this entire scarf using one Caron cake because you're going to need about 7 ounces. For today's demonstration, I'm actually going to use the Bernat Pop. Now the Bernat Pop only has about 5 ounces on it, so you're going to need about 1.5 if you use the Bernat Pop. Now just a note, the Caron cake yarn is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So if you're sensitive to wool, be careful using that one. But this scarf can be made with any worsted weight number 4 yarn. And that's why I'm going to use this Bernat Pop for my demonstration. It's a worsted weight number 4 and it's 100% acrylic. So you can use any worsted weight number 4 yarn for this project. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, and this eye hook is a 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll also need a needle just for weaving in those ends and a pair of scissors. So go grab you some worsted weight number 4 yarn, your eye hook, and we'll get started. So the first thing that we need to do is to make our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 28 chains. There's 10. Whoopsie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to begin stitching in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to stitch a row of single crochet. So here's the first chain, here's the second. We're going to place 1 single crochet in each chain across, and since we're starting in the second chain from the hook, we will have 27 single crochets. A single crochet, you go in the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. That's a single crochet. So we're going to place 1 single crochet in each chain across. So I stitched 1 row of single crochet. So we have 27 single crochets because we began in the second chain from the hook. We're going to chain 1, and the chain 1 here does not count as a stitch. And now we're going to place 1 single crochet in each single crochet across. So we just put our hook through, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And this is going to also be 27 single crochets. Now for the whole scarf, you should always get, for every row, 27 stitches. Whether we're stitching bobbles and double crochets or single crochets or the cross stitches, each row should have a total of 27 stitches. We finished our row of single crochets, and at the end of this row we're going to chain 3 because we're going to do a row of bobbles. And it looks like this. you've got 3 double crochets, then a bobble, 3 double crochets and a bobble, and we'll do this all the way across and then end with 3 double crochets. All right, so the way we do that is our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. Then we'll double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and to double crochet you yarn over your hook, put your hook through, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the second 2 loops. That's a double crochet. All right, so we are chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and then we stitch 2 double crochets. Now our next stitch is our bobble stitch, and on this pattern it's just a 3 double crochet bobble stitch. All right, I'll walk you through it. It's really easy. Yarn over, go in the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through the first 2 loops and leave those 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, go in the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through the first 2 loops. Now you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through that same stitch, pull up a loop, and again only go through the first 2 loops. Now you'll have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull that loop all the way through all 4 of those loops. That's our 3 double crochet bobble stitch. Now we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And there's our bobble stitch. All right, let's do it again. Yarn over, go in the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and only go through the first 2. Yarn over, go through the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and again only go through the first 2. Yarn over, go in that same stitch, pull up a loop, and again only go through the first 2. Now we're going to yarn over and pull that loop through all 4 of those loops. That's our bobble stitch. I always push that bobble stitch forward with my finger, and then I start my double crochet stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And as you do them, they'll pooch out more and more. And we'll continue this on across this row. I'll make another bobble stitch. And then we'll do 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Push those bobbles out. And another bobble stitch. And 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. All right, got 1 more bobble stitch to do. Oops, there we go. All right, and then we place 1 double crochet in those last 3 single crochets. All right, we're just going to chain 1 because our next row is going to be a single crochet row. And this is how it should look. You may have to push your bobbles out, and they'll stand out more once you do the next row. So you'll have 6 bobble stitches with 3 double crochets on each side. So our next row is going to be just a solid single crochet row. So we chained 1 and we're going to turn. Now it can be a little bit confusing because of the bobble stitches. And the best way to make sure you only have 27 stitches is to stitch looking at the top where those stitches are, not those bobble stitches. Okay, so we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those stitches across. And again, we only want 27 stitches. See how that's looking? And by adding a row of single crochet there, it's also going to help our bobble stitches stick out a little more. So I'm just going to continue stitching 1 single crochet in each stitch across, making sure I only have 27 single crochet stitches. Now for our next row, we've done that row of single crochet, and now we're going to do the cross stitch row. So at the end of our single crochet row, we need to chain 3. And this chain 3 does count as 1 double crochet. We're going to put a double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2. We're going to skip this next stitch and place a double crochet in the next stitch. Now we're going to do a double crochet in that stitch that we just skipped. So we yarn over and we cross back and we stitch a double crochet. There we go. And that's the way this row will be worked. You'll have those 3 double crochets at the beginning, but we're going to stitch straight across, stitching only the cross stitches. So we'll skip this next stitch and we'll stitch a double crochet in the next double crochet. Then we'll cross back and stitch a double crochet in that stitch that we skipped. And you can see the little crosses that are forming. Skip this stitch, stitch a double crochet in the next. Then we stitch a double crochet in that stitch that we skipped. Skip this stitch, stitch a double crochet in the next stitch. Then we'll cross back and stitch a double crochet in that stitch that we just skipped. And see the little crosses that are forming there? All right, we'll do this all the way across our row until we reach those last 2 double crochets, and we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the last 2 stitches. So we're going to skip, stitch double crochet here, and then cross back and stitch a double crochet in that stitch we skipped. I stitched my row of cross stitches, and now I'm going to place one double crochet in those last two double crochets. Now we're working with an odd number of 27 stitches, and that's why at the beginning we have 3, because our chain 3 counts as 1, and then we do 2 more. And then at the end of this row we just have the 2 because it's 27 stitches, which is an odd number. And that's what your row should look like after your cross stitch row. So now that we've finished our cross stitch row, we're going to only chain 1, turn our work, and again we're only going to stitch 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Now the crosses can be a little bit confusing, so I want you to again just follow those stitches across the top as you stitch, because we want to make sure we only have 27 single crochets. So we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch across. Sometimes when you're working a row like the cross stitch or like the bobbles, it's easy to add or subtract an extra stitch by accident. And that's why I say just follow that braid on the top where the chains are, and you should be able to keep track of your 27 stitches. All right, so we're coming to the end of this row. And for the remainder of the scarf, you'll repeat rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 over and over until you reach the length that you want. Because you'll stitch a single crochet row, then you'll stitch the bobble row, you'll stitch a single crochet row, then you'll stitch the cross stitch row, and then you will repeat that over and over until your scarf is the length that you want it. Let me pull this one down here. I'm going to flip it over to the purple because I think it's a little bit easier to see. Single crochet row, bobble stitch row, single crochet row, cross stitch row. And you'll repeat that over and over until it's the length that you want your scarf to be. And make sure that when you're done with the length, you end with a row of single crochet. And that's how you make the scarf. It's that easy. Just repeat over and over 2, 3, 4, and 5. Row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. Single crochet, bobble row, single crochet, cross stitch row. Over and over until your scarf is the length that you want it to be. And then end on a single crochet row. And that is how simple it is to make this Bobbles and Crosses scarf. And like I said, it's just a repeat of a single crochet row, a Bobbles row, a single crochet row, and then a cross stitch row. And then you just repeat that for as long as you want your scarf, and just make sure you end on a single crochet row. And it's that simple.